Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, let me tell you something. You are in control of your destiny. Every morning, when you wake up, before your feet even hit the floor, you've got to remind yourself of that. Too many of us walk around thinking that life is something that just happens to us, like we're powerless, like we're victims of circumstance. But that's a lie. That's a story we've been sold by people who've given up on their dreams or by a society that wants to keep us in line. It's time we change that narrative. Let's be real for a moment. Failure is part of the journey. Now, I know that word failure makes some of us uncomfortable. It stirs up feelings we'd rather not face, moments we wish we could forget. But the truth is, failure is inevitable and it's necessary. You cannot reach the heights you're destined for without stumbling along the way. And I'm here to tell you today, don't run from failure, don't fear it, embrace it. Because failure is not the end of the road, it's a crucial part of the process. We've all been there. You set your sights on a goal, you work hard, you give it everything you've got, and still things don't go as planned. Maybe you didn't get that job, maybe the business idea didn't take off, maybe the relationship fell apart. And in those moments, you feel like the world is crumbling around you. You feel like you've been knocked down so hard, there's no way you're getting back up. But let me tell you something, the only way failure defines you is if you let it. It's not about what happens to you, it's about how you respond to it. And how you respond to failure is what determines your success. Think about a baby learning to walk. They fall countless times. But do they give up? Do they sit there on the floor and say, well, I guess walking isn't for me? No. They get up wobbly at first, but they keep trying. They keep failing. But each time they get a little stronger, a little steadier, until one day they're walking. That's the thing about failure. It's not the fall that matters. It's the rise after the fall that counts. Failure is part of your growth. Now let's talk about what failure actually is. Failure is not a reflection of your worth. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It doesn't mean you're incapable. Failure is feedback. It's a lesson wrapped in difficulty, an opportunity dressed up as defeat. Every failure holds a key to unlocking your potential, but you've got to be willing to look at it that way. When you fail, don't ask, why did this happen to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? That shift in perspective can turn your greatest disappointments into your greatest triumphs. Take a moment and think about the people you admire, the entrepreneurs, the artists, the athletes, the trailblazers. We see their success, we see the glory, but what we often don't see is the long line of failures they walk through to get there. Michael Jordan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, was cut from his high school basketball team. Oprah Winfrey, one of the most powerful voices in media, was told she wasn't fit for television. Thomas Edison, the man who brought us the light bulb, failed over 1,000 times before he got it right. But here's the thing, they didn't quit. They didn't let failure stop them. They learned from it, they grew from it, and they kept pushing forward. That's what success really is, persistence through failure. You see, failure is a tool. It chisels away the unnecessary, sharpens your skills, and clarifies your vision. When you fail, you learn more about yourself than you ever could in moments of success. You learn where your strengths are and where you need to grow. You discover new strategies, new approaches, new ways to navigate the challenges you face. Failure forces you to be creative, to think outside the box, to innovate. It pushes you beyond your comfort zone, and that's exactly where greatness lies, outside of comfort, beyond the easy road. But let's be honest, failing hurts. It stings. It can shake your confidence and make you question everything. And that's okay. It's okay to feel disappointed. It's okay to feel frustrated, but don't stay there. Feel what you need to feel, but then stand back up, dust yourself off, and keep moving. Because failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. It's not the enemy, it's the mentor. And the more you fail, the closer you are to figuring out the path that leads to your success. I know we live in a society that glorifies perfection. We scroll through social media And all we see are the highlight reels, the wins, the triumphs. But don't get it twisted, behind every success story is a string of failures that no one talks about. Success isn't about never failing, it's about never quitting. It's about having the courage to stand up time and time again and say, I'm not done yet. Let's take a look at ourselves. How many times have we given up too soon because we were afraid to fail again? How many opportunities have we let slip by because we didn't want to risk the pain of falling short? The truth is, fear of failure holds more people back than failure itself. So, don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid of staying in the same place because you were too scared to take a risk. At the end of the day, life isn't a straight path. It's a winding road with ups and downs, with victories and losses. But every step, every misstep, every failure is leading you somewhere. Failure builds resilience, and resilience builds champions. So, the next time you stumble, the next time you face a setback, don't be discouraged. Look at it as a stepping stone, as a lesson in disguise. You are not defined by your failures, you are defined by how you rise from them. And when you rise stronger, wiser, and more prepared for what's ahead. Remember, this failure is part of the journey, but it's not the destination. It's just a chapter in your story, not the whole book. And when that final chapter is written, people won't remember how many times you fell. They'll remember how you stood up, how you kept moving forward, how you refused to quit until you achieved what you were meant to achieve. Keep going, keep growing, and never forget failure is just part of the path to greatness. In a world that celebrates the hustle, the grind, the endless pursuit of success, we often hear the phrase, keep grinding. It's become a badge of honor, a symbol of perseverance and hard work. But let me tell you something important: grind with purpose, not just pressure. There's a difference between moving with intention and moving just because the world says you have to keep moving. It's not enough to hustle just for the sake of hustling. You need to understand why you're grinding and where it's taking you. Otherwise, all that effort, all that time will be in vain. Let's break this down. There's a big misconception in society today that constant movement equals progress. If you're busy, if you're always on the go, then you must be doing something right. But busyness without direction is like running on a treadmill. You're putting in the effort, you're sweating, you're exhausted, but you're not actually getting anywhere. Grinding under pressure is like that. You're reacting to external forces, trying to meet expectations, to keep up, but you don't even know where you're going. Purpose is the difference maker. It's what turns a simple grind into something meaningful. When you grind with purpose, you're not just chasing the next task, the next paycheck, the next deadline. You're working towards a vision, a goal that's rooted deep within you. You've got a reason behind every step you take, a fire that fuels your actions. And when you have that, the grind becomes less about stress and more about fulfillment. Think about it: pressure is external. It's the demands of the world, the expectations of others, the need to keep up appearances. It's deadlines, bills, societal standards. It's the feeling that if you stop moving, you'll fall behind. Pressure is what pushes you, and while it can motivate you for a while, it's not sustainable. You can only grind under pressure for so long before you burn out, before you lose sight of what truly matters. Purpose, on the other hand, comes from within. It's internal. It's the reason you get up in the morning with passion and drive. It's what keeps you going even when things get tough, even when the pressure is unbearable. Purpose gives your grind meaning, direction, and power. Let me tell you a story. There was a man who worked 16-hour days, grinding nonstop, trying to climb the corporate ladder. He was successful by all outward appearances. He had the house, the car, the title. But every day he came home feeling empty, exhausted, unfulfilled. He was grinding hard, but he didn't know why. He had no real purpose behind his actions, and eventually it caught up with him. One day, after yet another long day at the office, he realized something had to change. He stepped back and asked himself a question that changed his life. What do I really want? What am I grinding for? That question led him to shift his focus from just working for a paycheck to working for a purpose. He found his true passion, started a business that aligned with his values, and finally his grind became meaningful. He still worked hard, maybe even harder than before, but this time he wasn't grinding under pressure. He was grinding with purpose. And that made all the difference. You see, when you grind with purpose, you're no longer just surviving, you're thriving. You're not just reacting to what the world throws at you, you're creating your own path, your own destiny. And that's powerful. That's where real success comes from, not from how many hours you work, not from how much you sacrifice, but from whether your grind is taking you somewhere meaningful. Now, don't get me wrong. Pressure is a part of life, and it's not always a bad thing. It can push you to levels you never thought possible. But it should never be the only thing driving you. The grind should be about more than just keeping up. It should be about getting ahead on your terms. It's not about working harder, it's about working smarter with a clear sense of direction. You need to ask yourself, what am I working for? What's the bigger picture? If you don't know the answer, you'll find yourself grinding aimlessly, stuck in the cycle of doing more but achieving less. Purpose gives you clarity. It makes your grind sustainable. When you know your why, the work becomes easier to bear. The long hours, the sacrifices, the setbacks, they're all part of a larger plan. You're not just hustling for the sake of hustling, you're building something meaningful, something that aligns with your values and your dreams. And that, my friends, is the key to a successful grind. Let's be real, grinding is hard. There will be times when you're tired, when the pressure feels overwhelming, when you wonder if it's all worth it. But if you have a purpose behind that grind, if you know why you're doing what you're doing, then it is worth it. Purpose is what transforms struggle into strength. It's what turns obstacles into opportunities. Purpose is what keeps you going when everything around you is telling you to quit. And here's the thing, your purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It just has to be yours. It has to resonate with you, fuel your passion, and give you a reason to push through the tough times. Whether it's building a legacy for your family, making a difference in your community, or simply proving to yourself that you can do it, find your purpose and let that guide your grind. So the next time you feel the pressure mounting, the next time the world tells you to keep grinding just to keep up, stop for a moment. Take a breath. Ask yourself, am I grinding with purpose? If the answer is yes, keep going. If the answer is no, it's time to recalibrate. It's time to realign your actions with your vision. Because in the end, success isn't about how hard you work. It's about how meaningful your work is. And when you grind with purpose, not just pressure, you're not just chasing success, you're creating it. Remember, grind with purpose, and the pressure will never define you. Your purpose will. We all have dreams. Some of us dream of success, others of love, some of peace, and others of greatness. But no matter what your dream is, there's one thing you need to understand. If you want to make it a reality, your dreams require discipline. Dreams without discipline are just fantasies. They're like clouds in the sky, beautiful to look at, but impossible to touch unless you're willing to work for them. It's easy to say, I want to be successful, or I want to be great, but the real question is, are you willing to put in the effort? Are you willing to be disciplined enough to do what's necessary, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable? Because that's what separates the dreamers from the achievers. It's not about wishing for something, it's about working for it. Discipline isn't glamorous, it's not flashy. It's not the part of success that you see on social media, in movies, or on TV. Discipline is the early mornings when you don't feel like getting up. It's the late nights when you're tired, but you push through. It's making the sacrifices that others won't make so you can have what others won't have. Discipline is the hard work behind the scenes, when no one's watching, when no one's clapping, when no one's patting you on the back. It's in those quiet moments, when you're all alone, that discipline becomes your greatest asset. You've got to understand that discipline is not punishment, it's preparation. It's not about restricting yourself or making your life harder for the sake of it. Discipline is about shaping yourself into the person who can handle the weight of your dreams. Because let me tell you something, dreams are heavy. They're big, they're demanding, and they will test you in ways you can't even imagine. Without discipline, you won't have the strength to carry them. Without discipline, your dreams will crush you under the weight of your own ambition. Think about the people who have achieved greatness. The athletes, the entrepreneurs, the artists, the visionaries, they didn't get there by accident. They didn't wake up one day and find themselves at the top of the mountain. They got there through relentless, consistent, disciplined effort. Look at someone like Serena Williams, one of the greatest athletes of all time. Her talent is undeniable, but it's her discipline that sets her apart. The hours she spent on the court, the sacrifices she's made, the focus she's maintained, that's what took her from being talented to being legendary. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. It's what takes your dream from a vague idea to a concrete reality. You can have all the vision in the world, but without discipline, your vision will stay just that, a vision. It's easy to get excited about a dream when it's new and fresh. But what happens when the excitement wears off? What happens when the road gets tough, when progress is slow, when you face setbacks and failures? That's when discipline kicks in. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward when motivation runs out. And trust me, motivation will run out. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the wind. Some days you'll feel it, and some days you won't. But discipline, that's something you can rely on. Discipline is what makes you get up and do the work, even on the days you don't feel like it. It's what pushes you through the challenges, the disappointments, the rejections. Discipline keeps you steady when the storms of life try to knock you off course. Let's be honest, discipline isn't easy. If it were, everyone would have it. But that's the beauty of it. Discipline is hard, and that's why it's valuable. That's why it's rare. And that's why it's the key to turning your dreams into reality. You see, anyone can dream. Anyone can say, I want to be successful, but not everyone is willing to do what it takes. Not everyone is willing to wake up early when they'd rather sleep in, to practice when they'd rather play, to sacrifice today's comfort for tomorrow's success. But here's the thing, if you truly want to achieve your dreams, you don't have a choice. You can't wish your way to success. You can't hope your way to greatness. You have to work for it. And that work requires discipline. And let me tell you something important, discipline is a choice. It's a decision you make every single day. You choose to be disciplined just like you choose to give up when things get hard. So the question is, what will you choose? You might be thinking, but discipline is so hard. I don't know if I can do it. And you're right, it is hard. But the truth is, success isn't supposed to be easy. If it were, everyone would have it. The very fact that discipline is challenging is what makes it worthwhile. And here's the good news, discipline, like any other skill, can be developed. You can train yourself to be more disciplined, just like you train your body in the gym. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about showing up day after day, even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't see immediate results.